I'm really not feeling filming today, so this is going to be interesting. But hello YouTube, my name is Isabella, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Malice by John Gwynne. Malice is the first book in an epic adult high fantasy quartet called The Fateful and the Fallen. At the beginning of this book, a prophecy is discovered, like the champion of the light and the champion of the dark, and an ancient war coming back to destroy the world all over again. A couple people are really concerned and attempting to gather everyone under one united front to combat the ancient evil forces, yet skepticism and political agendas frequently get in the way, and you follow multiple different perspective characters and their different motivations throughout the story, and epic adult high fantasy ensues. I still suck at giving synopsises for epic high fantasy, but moving on. This is an interesting book for me to review because usually when I'm reading a book, I will have an idea if I want to do a standalone review like halfway through and I feel really struck by the need to say something. And this book, not so much. However, where the story ends, I'm very intrigued for the rest of the series as a whole. Everyone talks really highly of the next few books. They mention that Malice might be a little bit of a struggle, but overall the series is really worth reading, and I'm probably going to want to review and discuss the other books. And there's just something about me possibly doing reviews for the other books but not having review for book one that seems just inherently wrong to me. So here we are. Hopefully this review is short because that intro was long. But overall I enjoyed Malice, but I didn't love it. It wasn't like my favorite thing in the world. It was good but not great. It is definitely a setup book. It definitely requires a bit of patience getting to learn and know all the characters, where they are in the story. In terms of the world building, I liked some of the magic stuff and the histories that are discussed in here, but the setting itself does nothing for me. It is a very stereotypical, like sort of medieval-ish inspired world where there are a bunch of kingdoms, like lesser kingdoms, but they're all united under one king. Political things are happening, horse and buggy, swords and armies, like very stereotypical setting. But in terms of the magic and the history packed into the world, that was the stuff I really enjoyed. I liked all the ideas behind the ancient war, ancient things awakening, maybe gods possibly putting things into motion again. I always love a richly developed history that doesn't bog down the overall pace and whatnot of the story. I also really liked the added element of mythical beings. Giants are a big part in here. They are villainous beings, and a lot of like the sort of mythical creatures that we discover along the way, the good and the bad and like the evil, that stuff I really enjoyed, and I found them inventive, unique, and fun, and they were a great added element to the story. In terms of the characters, there's a lot I really liked with them and a lot I struggled with. In the beginning, I think there are far too many perspectives introduced in quick succession. I think the story itself could have benefited from slowly adding more perspectives as we go, but I've heard and seen a lot of reviews saying that John Gwynne loves himself a many perspective novel, and it just increases from there. But I think it did make it really hard to grasp what was going on in the story, especially in the beginning. There are a ton of different character names just thrown at you. You're expected to sink or swim, and at the beginning I was definitely sinking. In retrospect though, a lot of the characters actually stick out to me. I actually finished this book a couple weeks ago and I'm only getting to the review now, but a lot of the characters, like the main ones we follow, have stuck out to me, and I think that is a mark of some good writing. There are two characters in particular that I thought were fascinating to follow because they are definitely like deliberate foils to one another. Witnessing those two characters was a definite high point in the story overall. I really loved watching the two characters and their arcs specifically. That was very enjoyable. I also enjoyed a lot of character dynamics and relationships, specifically with certain characters more. There's a brother-sister relationship in here I like. There's like a mentor-student relationship that I really enjoyed. And I like the fact that things are going to get very, very complicated when we go further on into the series with other characters who like maybe think they're in the right or they're following the right cause, but might possibly discover that they're not. I'm excited for the future of those complicated, messy dynamics. That stuff I will always love. Okay, so yeah, the plot was very slow to start, and it's definitely because of how many characters we have and how we're all kind of just thrown in there. I do think that the plot is one of the weaker parts in here, just because it's so slow to get going. I do like that it was like on a steady, very gradual incline. The trajectory of the plot I enjoyed, but the beginning was definitely rough. I think it very easily could have been shortened. We could have gotten a few less training montages, but I did like where we ended up. I like the ramifications that have occurred, like with the finale, how like big trouble has now happened and all the characters have been definitely tested, and seeing where they're going to go in the future I'm very interested by. I do think the elements of mystery and intrigue in here were the things that kept me motivated to read the story when it felt like we were kind of going nowhere sometimes, trying to figure out who is who and who's kind of on the right side, who's doing things like with good intentions, or some of the bad people watching their progression and then worrying about like the good characters. That stuff helped me get through it. The writing itself, I think, is fine. It's not the writing that I find myself the most drawn to. I like a little bit more stylistic choices usually, but it's very straightforward. It does a good job establishing what it needs to do. I really like the description, especially regarding like battle scenes. I think my favorite elements of the writing were the definite like character choices that John Gwynne makes, usually pairing the two foil characters back to back with their perspectives and constantly like putting them in contrast with one another and deliberately like showing their different trajectories were my favorite parts of the story and my favorite writing choice that was made. Hopefully this review was short. I feel like I talked for way too long. Again, I can literally never make a short video to save my life, but I ended up giving Malice 3.75 out of 5 stars. I couldn't quite give it the 4. It was a little bit too much on the struggle bus for me to give it that rating. But I am very excited to continue on with the series. So many people recently have been reading the series and loving it. So many people absolutely love the finale, which I'm really like excited to eventually get to. So I'm very interested to see overall my feelings on this series, and if I like the other books more, will this maybe raise in my opinion? We'll have to wait and see. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Malice by John Gwynne, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.